Hello. I want to break this vlog into two separate parts. It's all going to be about money. Always about the money. This video is long overdue. I've been meaning to put this vlog out for a long time. The initial part of this video, we're gonna take a dive back. Every year I put out a projection video and a revenue video for my business, the brand. Big Dogs Gotta Eat, projecting what our expenses are gonna be, projecting what our revenue is gonna be, projecting the different avenues in which those things come and go by, right? So we're gonna take a dive back to the last video that I put out projecting 2019's revenue. A lot has obviously happened since then. If you go all the way back to that video, I think I was still living at my mom's house when I put that out. So it's been a little bit of time in between then and now, right? We graduated from mama's house. We did our 1 year stint in the minor leagues in Brooklyn, and now we are in Manhattan. So time has gone by, but those were still 2019 projections. We're gonna look at those. We're gonna look at what we actually ended up bringing in 2019, the investments that we made, looking at 2020. We'll see how much time we have. This is gonna be a long ass fucking vlog, but I feel like it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be really helpful for those of y'all that are just interested in the dynamics behind, I guess, content creation business, but those of y'all that are in this space as well, I think we'll take a lot away from this and kind of get a behind the scenes look at like how much money goes into this stuff, how much money there is in terms of like opportunity to be made and the different angles that it comes from, and obviously my insight on which ones I think are the best and where you should be focusing your time. There's gonna be a lot of hopefully insightful, valuable things coming out of my face hole to y'all today. So we're gonna look at that, and then depending on how long the video runs for, maybe I'll do projections for 2020 in this one, maybe I'll do it for the next vlog. That will be the initial part. The second part, I wanna continue talking about money, but not from a physical standpoint. I wanna talk about money in terms of like its relation to, this is gonna sound like hipster as fuck, but its relation to society and its relation to like how we feel as a person based around money. Just like the impact that money has on people and people's decisions that they make. And it's a topic that I think about a lot now that we have, that I in life have entered a spot where money is not necessarily a big problem for me anymore. Thus, it makes you start focusing on other problems, of course. So we will dive into a little bit more spiritually, the back end of this video in the second half of things. Since it's been a hot fucking minute since we dove into the whiteboard, for those OG, I'm sure y'all remember the whiteboard sessions back in the day, but we are set up, we're ready to pump out some fucking content. And if you guys enjoy, hit that thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section what you did enjoy about this video, or if you just thought it was dumb and you don't really care. Whatever, man, I appreciate all the fucking love, the hate. As the kids say, haters are my motivators. With a fucking 8 number in there. Let's kick it off. Want to watch, I don't know if this lighting is going to help or not. If you want to watch the video I was referring to in the intro part, that'll be linked up here, or whatever the fuck YouTube puts that thing. I'll link it in the description as well, so you could see like really what I was talking about. And I go very in depth with this, man. You don't see YouTubers like myself put this information out there. Anytime you click on a video of like, how much money does the YouTuber make? They only talk about the Google AdSense, right? The money that you make from the ads within your video. But I'm here to tell you that as a serious content creator, that is a very, very small, for the most part, small. If you are good at being creative and branding yourself, that's only a very small portion of the income. Maybe not that you bring in, but that you could bring in. So those videos are like, okay, they're cool, whatever, but they're really not that helpful to people that are interested in the topic. So I'm really gonna break down everything from product sales, affiliates, sponsorships, all of that kind of shit, so you can really get an idea for what some of these creators are making, which is fucking out of this world. We'll say they're gonna be fine through the coronavirus, we'll put it that way. I'm gonna put the numbers up for you, what I had projected for 2019. 7 different streams of revenue, I believe, that I projected coming into 2019. It was my draft guide sales, Patreon, sponsorships, affiliates, merchandise, bigdogsfantasy.com, the live NYC draft, and YouTube AdSense revenue from that. When I do my projections, this is how I do them. I'm not someone who dives like really far into the numbers. I don't think there's really a point of doing that. I think you can get a good feel for, well, at least the way my business has run, I've tried to make it so that it's all kind of revolved around branding and building the foundation. So I kind of expect it to grow year over year. I don't have to dive into numbers and try to do like, you know, different like tactic-y sales stuff and be like, oh, if we raise our conversion rates 2.5% on this landing page, then our bottom line revenue will increase by 3%. Like, that's not the way I do my fucking projections. There are a lot of companies, you know, if you're a startup tech or whatever, you have to have all those balance sheets. And I'm sure eventually, like, if we grow and grow and grow, we will get to a point where we need that kind of shit. But right now, I think I can get a good enough feel on where my brand is just by being so involved with my customers and my audience, and also being the person that fucking runs all this stuff. I'm in there day to day. I'm in the trenches, it's my life, you know, like my entire work revolves around my life and vice versa. So I look at the previous year, I expect a little bit of growth, and that's how I do them. So I hope that you guys can see this. If not, I'll try my best to zoom in on the numbers. The draft guide, I had projected for minimum 25,000, maximum 50,000. So also the way I do this is, yeah, you'll hear me talk about this in a lot of my business episodes, but when I project numbers going forward, I always try to expense things based on my minimum projection, okay? So if I'm like, I'm gonna make, you know, there's gonna be a range of outcomes for projections. It's really difficult to project these things, especially in my industry, fantasy football, because 1, it's so seasonal. 2, it's like the growth exponentially that happens for like a 1 or 2 month period is sort of unpredictable. So I do a minimum, I do a maximum, and when I'm projecting to the following year, if I'm looking at expenses or things that I can invest into, I always do it based off of the minimum projection revenue or money that I'm gonna bring in for that year. Because you're gonna put yourself in a fucking world of hurt if you do those projections. If you're thinking about expenses, if you're thinking about investing into things based on your maximum projection and you don't hit best case scenario, your business is gonna be fucked. With that being said, I try to keep it as realistic as I possibly can. So I always go like worst case scenario when I'm projecting, because if it becomes better, you have a lot of room to work with and you could put more money and investments into it. But there needs to be practicality to it, because if you don't do a realistic bottom line projection, right? Your minimum projection is not good, like you're way underselling yourself, then you're also gonna miss out on a lot of investments and expenses that you could dive into because you have so much extra cash and you could have done that earlier. So it's a fine line. There's a real delta between projecting the max, projecting the minimum, and how to spend the money based on where it's actually gonna land there. So that being said, we did a minimum, we did a maximum for all of the revenue streams that I thought we could have possibly brought in 2019. I set the draft guide because this was my highest revenue source for the previous year. Minimum $25,000, maximum $50,000. And I remember when I initially put this number up there, in my body, like in my soul, I was like, I highly doubt we're gonna hit the 50K mark. That was just like best case scenario, you know, me hoping and wishing that we continue to grow and things turn out successfully. And I also thought that I was gonna run a ton of Instagram ads and Facebook ads based on the draft guide, which I did end up running some, and they were pretty successful, but I didn't scale them at all. So that number was based on scale. However, we fucked that number up. Last year alone, and these are gonna have to be a little bit of estimates because throughout the summer, you know, the draft guides differed in prices. Sometimes I would do sales at the beginning of the new month. Maybe I would raise the prices on them. So it's hard to get a definite number on it, but exporting the Excel file from the back end of the draft guide, I know that there were over 2,000 purchasers on it. Oh no, no. It's fucking permanent, it's permanent. Whew! Pays to have quick fingers. Get that away from me. Why is that there? We'll go projections and we'll go actual. So we had over 2,000 combined sales of the draft guide. That is mixed up between just the season-long purchases, just the rookie dynasty purchases, and then a mix of if people got the combo package. 2,000 sales and then varying the prices throughout. When I do export the Excel sheet, it will have the exact prices in there. It landed around, I think it was like $64,000 in sales, right? So that was obviously a fantastic money generator. And I mean, it's so tough to look at this objectively because I'm in this day in and day out, and like, I don't know, you just like put the work in and things happen or they don't happen. But if you had told me that I was gonna sell $65,000 worth of fucking draft guides 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like that's enough money to live off of year over year. But you know, it's very easy to say that and just look at it that way. You also, at the point where I'm at, you look at, and I'll talk about more in the second half of this video when I'm talking about, you know, money and like where your heart lies kind of. You know, you don't just profit 65K, right? Like when you're a business or a brand and you're looking to grow, you obviously have to put a lot more of that back into it. So it's not just like at the end of the year, if I did nothing else and only sold draft guides, I would just have $65,000 in my bank account. Not how it works, of course. Throw that out there for any of you young peoples that have never been in the business of business. Draft guide sales, 65K. Patreon. And also, just a side note here, because I'm sure there will be people like, this is bullshit, there's no way he could prove this, etc., etc. One, I could care a fuck less if you believe me or not. I've been doing this exact video since I made $300 off draft guide sales, since I made $5,000 off draft guide sales, since last year when we brought in, I think, 45,000 or whatever. So like, I've documented the process along the way. The other thing is, like, me lying to you, me telling you the truth, me lying to you, me exaggerating, me underplaying it to you, it don't change the fucking number in my bank account. So whatever the fucking reasoning behind you not believing me, I don't care, and it does nothing for me or against me. So I just like to open up to my audience and give you guys a more realistic view to hopefully inspire you or to be more practical in your day-to-day operations and shit. Patreon, I projected anywhere from 5 to 7K. Patreon is a tricky one. It's something I wish I had more time to dive into, but it's basically, you know, we can get a large spike during the season. It's really hard to kind of keep it engaged and active in the off season, but you have these months during September, October, November, December, those 4 months where the fantasy football season is going on, and you could bring in a lot of people if you offer them really good value, right? Like, we're putting out 4 to 5 videos a week during the season, and if that's not enough for people, we'll be like, yo, if you want extra exclusive content or analysis or whatever, Patreon's where to go. So when we're putting out videos throughout the season, you know, and we're putting out 4 to 5 a week and they're getting anywhere from like 5 to 20K a video, we're gonna convert, you know, 2 or 3 people per video into Patreon. So Patreon did much better this year than I expected it to. And I'll put the screenshot directly from the Patreon website of the month-over-month earnings. So I couldn't figure out how to change the graph to all of 2019, but that was the general sense of it. You can see that it spikes from September to December. I have the exact numbers. It came out to 15.5K. So for sponsorships versus affiliates, you might be asking yourself, what the fuck's the difference? So sponsorships are a brand play by the company sponsoring the video, right? There's a difference between affiliate and a sponsorship. Sponsorship is more branding. Affiliate is straight up me pitching to my audience, giving y'all a promo code, you using it, and me getting a kickback every time someone signs up for my promo code. So sponsorships per se, a company comes to me and they say, hey, we want you to plug our product or plug our brand or our website for, you know, these are conversations you have with them, obviously negotiations, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, either at the beginning of the video, the middle of the video, the end of the video. There's all technical terms for this type of marketing. But if you guys watched my interview, see, I'm not gonna dive into exact companies that I worked with. I'm sure you guys have seen them, but in terms of like numbers and contracts and stuff, I obviously can't dive into those things and the actual money that came from each one. But since that one was already on air, the interview I did with Matt Kelly on the Behind the Business of Fantasy Football, we literally talked about our negotiation on the interview. So he's paying, you know, $7,500 for the entirety of the season for me to like plug him into my videos once a week, right? And these are negotiations you have. So for sponsors, it's just like you are trusting the creator to seamlessly kind of integrate your brand into their video. You're not asking, for the most part, you're not asking for tracking links and affiliate codes and making sure that that person led to exact sales.
So while I'm editing this, I realized I've probably left out some points that I think would be a little bit more helpful to you. The sponsorship versus affiliate, sponsors are paying just to get the plug. With affiliates, you're not getting paid unless you get your audience to convert, right? Unless they sign up using your promo code, you ain't getting paid for shit. Sponsorships, though, they'll pay you up front for, you know, a certain number of video views, a certain number of podcast downloads, shit like that. So again, they're putting their trust in you up front. Affiliate is more you pitching, because the only way you're getting paid off affiliates is if you convert your audience to purchasers of that affiliate's product or service.
And this obviously comes with a deep level of trust that the company or the brand has to have with the creator. A lot of you guys will listen to podcasts or videos, and it doesn't even have to be within the fantasy space, just in general as content creators. A lot of plugs are like extremely fucking lame, and there's no way that they sell anything on those. The only way to really sell to your audience is to truly believe that what you're pitching gives them fucking value. If I'm out here and I'm just like reading off the top of the dome and it's products or services that I don't use, I will never plug that shit into my videos, because it's a bad two-way street, man. One, the conversions are gonna be shitty. So the next sponsor that you go to, if they wanna talk to your previous sponsor about conversion rates and shit, it's gonna be poor. Two, the conversion rate is poor, so that current sponsor is gonna be like, fuck that, I don't wanna work with you anymore. So advice to people looking at sponsorships, affiliates, don't do that shit unless it's completely natural into your content. Now, like, I'll give you an example, Draft. Last year, I worked closely with Draft, who was under FanDuel. Obviously, they have kind of dissolved since then. FanDuel is working the best ball platform into their app right now, so hopefully they'll be kicked off by midsummer. I don't know if that's the true thing or not. But Draft was the perfect partnership for a creator like me, because all I'm doing is creating, every Friday last summer I'd put out a mock draft or a best ball draft on my channel, which would just basically be a 2019 fantasy football mock draft. It's content that I would be putting out elsewhere. I mean, I would be putting out anyways, right? So it flawlessly fit into the content schedule that I had anyway. So the partnership was just natural there. And those are the kind of things you want to look for when you're putting affiliates or sponsorships into your content. So again, sponsors are really not looking, if they're sponsoring your video, they'll say like, we'll give you this much money for this many videos, right? And they're not like, okay, you need to hit this many sales, we're gonna be tracking these links. Some of them are a little bit more like that, but for the most part, they're giving you free equity over how to plug their stuff into your videos. So with those numbers, we made 8.8K off of just strictly sponsorships. Now, the fucking elephant in the room, the monster in the room was affiliates. And this is gonna sound like an unbelievable number probably for you guys, but we brought in about $86,000 from affiliates. I wanna give some context to that. You have to realize, again, for instance, with Draft, those mock drafts I put out were getting, I think the top one maybe got close to 60,000 views on that. I was doing that stuff weekly. So if I was putting out for 3 months, right? I think we worked together in an official capacity from June, July, August. And this is a combination of like 5 or 6 affiliates. This number, this is definitely not just Draft, but it's a combination of a bunch of companies that I worked with. But for Draft in particular, I just want to give an example of why this works so well, because as I said to you guys, the content one was a flawless integration into my content itself. So it wasn't like I was ever pitching you guys. It wasn't like I was ever selling something to you where I didn't feel like you were getting really good value off of it if you did end up using my promo code for it. If we did 15 videos for them or whatever, and they're getting on average 20 to 30,000 views, in those videos, if I plug in, I'm like, yo, you guys get the draft with me, and I realize that, by building a brand and an audience, people want to integrate with you. People want to be connected to you in a sense. So that is, just exclusivity is a great fucking plan for business. Trying to get, access is a better word, not exclusivity, but access to you, whether it's as a person for analysis or just like doing something involved with you, that shit sells really well. So if I'm getting a collective, 300,000, 500,000 views over the course of those videos, it really doesn't take that high of a conversion rate in order to bring in a lot of money. Which brings it to the other point. The industry as a whole, and this is why this works so well, the industry as a whole, if you think about all the new services that are coming out within the fantasy industry, think of what they are. They're all software, they're all apps, they're all websites. When you're starting a business, right, most of them are tech startups. At the core of what they are, like Sleeper app, right? They run the fantasy football leagues. They're a tech startup. The majority of their investments goes into like developers working on their website and their app. When you're a company coming up like that, right, they didn't take the same path that I did where they just put out content and built brand for 3 to 4 years with little overhead or little expenses. When you're a brand like that, you gotta take a fuckload of money up front, right? You're doing seeding capitals, you're meeting with VCs, you're taking a lot of marketing initial investments into your business. When they do that, what do you think they invest that shit into? It gets invested into their personnel, so the salary of their workers, those web developers, and then into marketing. And where the fuck you think that marketing money goes? It goes to creators like myself and creators within the industry and you know, making fucking social media graphics and stuff like that. So they take a huge portion of the huge money that they just got from VC and they say, yo, we're gonna give you this insert absurd number of dollars for each sign up that you get within your audience. And it's only absurd from my point of view. It's a great number for me, but on the back end, these companies obviously need to understand the lifetime value of their customers. So for instance, if they're gonna pay me X number of dollars for one single customer to register on their website, they've done the math over the years, knowing that the lifetime value of that customer that I just brought on for X number of dollars is worth 10X number of dollars to them as a company. So it's a good deal for me, it's a good deal for them, and it's a good deal for the audience because they almost always get some sort of bonus or some shit to sign up with. So that is the formula for it. We just happen to be in a good industry where they're giving away a fuckload of money for affiliates. I happen to have a large enough audience where if my conversion rate is low, I could still bring in a lot of revenue, but more importantly, the content integrates within my content, or the product or service integrates within my content extremely, extremely well. And that is so fucking important. You can never, don't sell your audience. Only tell them how much value you're going to give them to a point where they don't really have another choice but to sign up. And access is a beautiful thing. So that's one thing I found that worked very well. So we have 64 from the draft guide, 15.5 from Patreon, 8.8 from sponsorships, 86 from affiliates. And then within one of the affiliate deals I had, I was also getting paid to make the content for that company, which ended up being an extra 6K. Merch sales were definitely not high whatsoever. We don't sell a lot of products via clothing. It's not something we like ever pitch, but we have it available on our site on bigdogsfantasy.com in case people want to, you know, support the brand, get a Big Dogs or Fade the Public or whatever the fuck it is. We do it for fun. We do it so people can rep the brand. We do what's called drop shipping. So basically, rather than holding inventory or having apparel on hand, which is expensive, and you have to do the shipping, you have to do the customer service, you have to do all that and make sure that you have enough literal physical room within your apartment or your warehouse or whatever to hold that shit. We do what's called drop shipping. For those of y'all unfamiliar with drop shipping, is there's these companies that are created and they're literally like drop shippers. They have a giant warehouse of t-shirts, sweatshirts, fucking pillows, cell phone cases, whatever you can think of, they have it in there. You go online, slap your fucking logo or slap whatever design you want onto it, and you could throw it right into your e-commerce store. And then a customer buys some shit, it goes a notification to the drop shipping warehouse, which makes the product, which ships it out to the customer, and you don't gotta deal with any of that shit. That being said though, the profit margin is very, 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 very low. Okay? Not good money made off of that. So when I do a sale, that's the other reason I don't even do sales really on my clothes. Because if I'm like, yo, we're doing a 30% off sale, I'm legit probably like fucking losing money if I do that. You're gonna buy a sweatshirt for 36 bucks and it costs me $38 to make it. So the profit margin sucks. So if merch is a big part of your business plan, having the inventory on hand, if you can, is a much more profitable. It's why you see like a lot of content creators that don't sell necessarily a product, like the ones who are entertainers in a sense, think of like Barstool, think of like Nelk Boys, any of those guys that sell a fuck ton of merch. That's a big part of their business plan, and you always see that they have this merch on hand. If you do drop shipping, you don't get to I mean, you could order them for yourself and sample the product, but when it goes out to the customer, you don't get to see it first. So if it's like a fucked up product design, you know, one of them just like glitches out and puts a fucked up design on your product, you're not gonna be able to see that and ask for changes before it's sent out to the customer. So there are absolutely pros and cons, but merch is just not a big part of our business plan right now. We don't pitch it, we don't, you know, serve it to our audience, so we don't put a lot of energy into making sure that that's you know, concretely done, or concretely well done, I should say, for us. So merch altogether brought in about 1.5K in sales. And again, that does not account for the expenses. So every time someone bought a $40 sweatshirt and we had to pay 28 bucks for it, you can bet that the profit on this 1.5K is probably like fucking 30% or some shit like that. Second to last thing, we have the live NYC draft. Now, for those of y'all that are new to my channel and you haven't checked it out, it is the featured piece of content on my channel. So if you go back to youtube.com/NickErcolano, that will be like the trailer for my channel. It's this thing that I do every summer. This will be the third year. I'm praying to God that we could still host it. I actually have a bad feeling that by the end of August, we're not gonna be able to have people fly out and shit to do it. But what we do is I get together with 10 or 11 of my subscribers, right? Straight from the fucking internet. I've never met these guys before we started doing this weekend together. and they fly out to New York City. We rent an Airbnb where we all kick it for the weekend from Friday to Sunday. It's like one of the best weekends that we have all year. It's so much fucking fun. So much work to put together a live event, but that's a whole nother conversation. From a business perspective, here's how it works, right? Every time when I pitch it in the beginning of the summer, if we, you know, at this point, I don't think any new spots are gonna open up. And I do think this has potential to be one of like the most exclusive, like most popular leagues, fantasy football leagues in the fucking entire industry. I think as more people watch the content we make behind it, it comes out to be a full-length vlog video of the entire weekend, and it's fucking awesome. But again, that's for another conversation. When I pitch it normally, I'm like, yo, you guys come out to New York City, you pay X number of dollars. So I think this year it was like, they pay $1,200 each person to participate in the weekend, and then they also have to pay for their airfare. So we had people coming out from all over the country, and it's a very expensive weekend for them, so it's a real investment into it. However, on the back end, we make no fucking money on this, right? I projected to make 1.5 to 5K, and the reason being was like, I'm gonna raise the prices for everyone that's involved, plus we're gonna put on multiple weekends. And I realized that just fucking is not doable, because we do it at the end of August. It's a fantasy draft at the end of the day, and you have to make sure that it's one, close to the season. Like, you wanna draft when most people are drafting, right? Like a normal fantasy football draft would work. Two, the weekend is just a fucking giant bender within itself, right? Everyone shows up like Friday morning or Friday afternoon, and we just start partying for the entirety of the weekend. And during that popularity of the season, right? The content season is fucking July, August, whatever. I can't take multiple weekends off to just party for the entire weekend, because I need to be fucking working. My head needs to be in the computer and pushing out high quality content to yours, because that is exponential growth, as I like to call it, money printing season. So the thought of doing multiple weekends is something that will elude me. I will never be able to do that. If we continue to build the brand though, and we continue to build the personalities within the brand, we can pull that off, and I can actually outsource the weekend to, you know, for example, like Snacks and Animal can host their own fucking weekend the weekend prior to mine, right? And I could like pop in and say what's up, maybe even participate in the draft. But in order for me, like when we have this weekend, my head and energy needs to be completely focused on that weekend and nothing else around it, because these dudes invested into me and my brand and are there to have a good fucking time. And I wanna make sure that I provide that to them. So this year, I'm not kidding when I tell you I took money out of pocket, like $40 or $80 for this weekend to happen. So despite them paying all that fucking money, I still lose money. But it's a beautiful branding and marketing thing, and you build this relationship with these fans who are your diehards forever. And those dudes are like my brothers now. So I wouldn't have it any other way, except maybe turning that negative into a positive. I would like it to be that way. But those expenses, the reason I lose money is because, one, the Airbnb in Manhattan, it has to fucking sleep 10 to 12 to 15 people if we have friends crashing there and shit. So that's really expensive for a weekend. That alone wipes out like $3,000 to $4,000 for the weekend. Going out Friday and Saturday night. Saturday night ends up being my birthday, whereas Friday night the first time, Saturday night the second time. So of course we're getting like bottle service and we're bowling the fuck out at the clubs and shit. Again, all I wanna do is have a good time and show these guys a good time and just, you know, live the lifestyle brand that I'm trying to portray within Big Dog's Gotta Eat. So going out, we make sure the entire house is stocked with food, drinks, alcohol, anything you could want, we have it there for you. So we take care of the entire weekend expense-wise, and in Manhattan, it's fucking outrageous. So that is why we lose money on it, but it's really fun to do.
Another quick side note, that weekend is not just a weekend to hang out with me. I realize I didn't say it in the video, but we do a fantasy draft. We turn the 12 people, myself and the other subscribers, into a fantasy football league. So we do a live draft there, and that contributes to the expenses. So on top of food, alcohol, going out, eating out, all that stuff, the payout is like $220 a person or something. So that's also another times 12, like $2.5 to $3,000 out of the revenue. So that's also why it makes it very tough to profit on this.
So this year I will not be projecting any money being made from the live New York City draft weekend. It took me 2 weekends, right? The first one we did 2 years ago, I projected to make money. We didn't make money. This following year, I projected to make way more money, and we also didn't make any money. So my dumb ass has to learn from that when I project for the following year. So no money from the live NYC draft weekend. YouTube AdSense, I projected 3.5 to 5K. We brought in 13.3. Again though, you have to remember that it's a lot of money. It's not money to be negated. You know, it's not nothing, and it's definitely money that I can invest back into people or content or whatever the fuck it is. But again, you have to understand that in June, July, August, we're getting like 25,000 views per video. And that accumulating over the course of the 2 or 3 months is gonna end up being good money. So it's like, I might be making $100 a month December, January, February, March. But then like once fantasy football season starts, like the summer starts and into September and October, we're probably pulling in like 1.5 to 2.5 to 3K per month during the season because the views get exponential during that. It was tough to get a real projection on like how many views you're gonna end up looking at. And for those of y'all that are interested, YouTube is like, they don't have an exact number. It goes by like whether or not, one, you monetize the video. So a lot of my vlogs behind the business of fantasy football interview series, I don't monetize those videos, because I would rather y'all just enjoy it. I would rather be able to put music in that's not gonna slap a copyright on me. So I don't worry about getting money from that shit. But if I know in the summer, say like I give Scott a video to edit, right? And I'm like, this video is gonna push numbers, right? We're gonna hit 30, 40, 50K. And I know that's gonna equate to maybe like $100 or $200 via AdSense. I'm like, yo, make sure you don't put any NFL clips in there. Make sure, because that's what will get you for copyright. Make sure you don't put any music that's gonna get copyright on it. So we had that discussion up front when I know we're about to put out a fucking slapper on the channel. So like YouTube looks at it from one, I mean, it's overall views, but it's also like the depth of those views and the ads that are in there. So if there's 3 ads, right? The beginning ad, the middle ad, the end ad, the person just watched the entire video and they watched all 3 ads. And whether or not they skip the ads and shit, that's all calculated into it. So I could definitely not give you an exact approximation like, oh, you make, I think there's some number that goes out like for every 1,000 views of a video, you make like $8. I guess that might be like an estimate on it, but I don't really know how accurate that is. I think a lot of things go into that algorithm and the factor of what actually makes that money. So that is what we ended up with. So if you add all of this up, $195K. I'm almost sure. Oh, okay. You know what? One of the affiliates I work with, the last payment, which was over 5K, came in like January or February, so I don't know if I counted it tax-wise towards this year or not. So 195, maybe like 201K, in that range right there. That is what we brought in, and that is how we did it. I will probably wait to do a projection video, maybe another week or 2 or something. It's gonna be really difficult to project it. Basically, the way I'll do it is I'll probably hit record on the camera and I'll say, okay, minimum projections. We're fucked if the NFL season doesn't happen. Maximum projections, a fuckload of money if the NFL season does happen. What I think is the coolest part about the way we've made our money.
Promise this will be the last interjection, but as I'm editing, I realized I did not just finish that final point. I just segued into something completely fucking off topic, as I always do in my videos. What I was gonna say is the beautiful way that we made the money is that we've left so much untapped potential, right? Like there is so much money to be made in sponsors, and we haven't really tapped into that. A lot of content creators absolutely kill when it comes to straight sponsorships. We do really well through affiliates, but we have not tapped into sponsorships. We have barely tapped into Patreon. If we could actually make Patreon like a nice product for the customers, we could make a ton more money from that, and we don't do merch at all either. So we've made a lot of money, but we've also not even tapped into 3 other sources that could kill money-wise. So that is why I'm excited about it, because even if we have a down year with those other things, like there is growth to be had through a way of so many more avenues. And if we could find a way to put it all together and have everything running at fucking elite level, this video is gonna have, I'm gonna need an extra whiteboard to put enough numbers on it come the following years.
Is like draft guide sales of 65K is fucking banging. Man, I talked about this in the last one. That's the scary shit about affiliates, man. I literally talked about like, I don't want to rely on affiliates to make money because you never know what could happen. Boom. We had a good partnership with draft. All of a sudden, they're not a thing anymore. So I can't depend on money coming in from draft. Like these is real shit that I have to deal with as a content creator. Like you're always needing to improvise and adapt to the market and see where you need to be making money from, man. It's not, you can't stay complacent and expect to make money and grow. You need to be innovating all the fucking time. And that's what gives me anxiety, and that's what makes it nerve-wracking year over year. It's fun, it's fun. It's great when you make fucking 200K, but it's not fun when the next year you gotta figure out how to do it again and then grow with other means of fucking revenue. So that is straight revenue, by the way. That is not profit. So within that 200, 25% goes straight to taxes for all you youngins out there. Yes, the government takes like 50 fucking K straight away from me, right? Not a fun paycheck to write out. Taxes, expenses. So Scott has been editing Fade the Public for the last year, as well as some of the other mini projects that I've had him work on, the vlogs and stuff. A lot of the vlogs, not my personal ones, but like the draft weekend and shit he works on. So I wanna say over the course of last year, I think I paid him maybe like $5,500 or $6,000. And that kind of stuff I'll talk about in the projections for next year, but that's only gonna get bigger, right? We already gave him a raise. I've already paid him more this in 2020 than I have in 2019 combined already. I gave him a raise for this year. That's not counting the expenses like even as simple as things you don't think about, like Dr. Jesse Morse, who was in my draft guide last year, and he did like the injury write-ups, right? Like that's a valuable piece of my draft guide that I know the audience likes. But I'm also paying Dr. Morse, right? Like X number of dollars for every copy sold while he was putting into the injury reports. And then I have like Noah, I throw money at every once in a while, but we'll probably get something more concrete in 2020. And then, expenses when it comes to software, like buying new computers, buying new cameras, buying new lenses. This year alone, and this is not a brag, but I'm just telling you the expenses. Like I bought a brand new MacBook for both Snacks and Animal, and I just previously did the same for Noah and Mike, Bunk Bed Breakdowns. So like these are the things that I'm not like, it's funny because during the Corona time, I realized it's like very recently, people are very charitable during these times, right? If they see people that are less fortunate, they are very inviting to give things away. And I realize I am not a charitable person at all, but like I'm very giving. I'm very generous when it comes to my money. If I feel like the person has earned it, right? Like I'll randomly wake up, like I've done this to Noah before. Like I'll randomly wake up and I'll go on PayPal and I'll just send him $1,000. I'll be like, thank you for your fucking service, Like I'm generous with my money. I also like was never ever around this type of money growing up, right? Like I grew up with just my mom. She didn't go to college. She didn't have a great job. Like it wasn't like, I was always in the sense of just like money was always a thing to me, obviously, right? Like I really had to be conscious about how I spent my money. And now that I have it, I feel like I'm just trying to fucking give it away. I want to be broke again, to be honest. I don't really mean that, but like, I wouldn't mind it to put some fucking jets up my ass to make me work a little harder. But like, that's the way I am with money, man. I will invest it into my people. Scott comes to me, he's like, hey, do you think we could like raise my pay to X number of dollars this year? I'm like, fuck yeah. And then throw another couple $1,000s on it because I appreciate the fuck out of you and I want you here long term and I want to be the person that you ride or die for. That's the way I look at it. Like I'll throw money at you because like money is not a motive for me. But I only do that with people that I feel like earned it, to me subjectively. There are so many people that could use the money more than I could, or more than me buying laptops for people that help me finish my fucking work and do my work. I don't know, there's like a switch in my brain that, I guess that's selfish. Yeah, maybe I'm just a fucking selfish person, to be honest. I don't know, I play inside my circle and I do the best that I can to make that circle deep enough, and that's the way I see myself doing that. Yeah, there's a lot of miscellaneous expenses that go into it, especially when you're working on an online space. There's so much tech and expense that way, and as we grow as a company, of course, I'm gonna have to keep in like these interns, right? I'll probably end up throwing somewhere close from like 5 to 7K at the interns throughout the entirety of the summer because I'm gonna be paying them. Hopefully they can get here for the summer, but like that's, there's a lot of underlying expenses too. So you see this number and it's like, holy shit, he made a lot of money, but that is by no means the number in my fucking bank account. And I always, again, I project for next year and I make sure I put that money aside. And then same thing with this year, man. All of the sales that we've made off draft guides already and all the money we made off Patreon, I am not touching. That goes into a separate savings account. And that will be, I will not touch that until like I know that we have hit rent quota for next year. So this place, of course, this is another, like you're talking about making 200K. This place alone, this studio, which I would love to get fucking up and running, but I can't because of Corona, right? This economy is gonna hit everybody, even if I'm gonna make good money. This studio in itself, the rent is crazy. It's gonna end up costing me somewhere between $45,000 and $50,000 for the 12-month period that I am there. So that is a monster fucking expense. And it's not just me trying to ball out in an apartment. That is a nice side effect of it. But I really want the people that I work with to be together physically because we can get so much fucking done. So that's a monster expense. You have taxes, you have the studio expense. I'm gonna be paying people, Scott, the interns, other people within the brand. So it's like, this shit fucking adds up quick. And I'm okay not bringing in a lot of profit. As long as the revenue is there and we know we're growing, I'll be able to cut out expenses eventually. But for now, we're investing everything back in and seeing what comes out of it. I just see right now, and the reason I'm doing that too is because like I see right now as a very prime opportunity within the space that if you could fucking nail it for the next 2 or 3 years, the growth will be exponential, and then it will start getting more saturated with people that are seeing the success you're having, starting to not copy your business plan in a sense, but copy the way that you operate or take a lot of the pieces that you do and the way that you create content and the branding around it, and that will probably be somewhat successful, and then you will start losing a little bit of money because of that. So eventually the growth is gonna stop, but it ain't gonna stop for the next 2-3 years. So we're going fucking all in on investing the money back into the business over that span, and then we'll see what happens when we hit that time range. I mean, I tried to give you as much information, as much value as I possibly could within this little whiteboard session. I hope it made sense. I hope you can see some of these fucking numbers. You probably can't. I feel like it was blurry the whole time. These are projections for last year. This is what we actually brought in. But yeah, again, at the end of the day, I wanted to, like I always try to keep my business open to you guys. I'll be honest, once I realized, like once I was done doing the calculating on my fucking money and I realized how much we actually brought in this year, I remember how fucking excited I was when we hit 75K. And I was like, holy shit, like this is a good salary. I could live off this. And then we hit 100K and I was like, this is getting fucking ridiculous. And then just, I don't know, things just kept being really fucking good. And we hit a number that I never in my, if you look back at the projections for last year, I think I have it in the previous video, the minimum, I'm pretty sure I projected them, the minimum to be 35K. Like I projected worst case scenario of me making less money the following year than I did the previous year, which is something I probably won't do again unless there's a fucking pandemic. And the maximum I put at like 85K. Clearly we blew those numbers out of the water. And I talk about being practical and doing good projections, and I'm fucking terrible at them, obviously. But, you know, at that time, again, I did live in my mom's house and I was not projecting to go from mom's house to $200,000 in a year. And I really hope this video does not come off as me bragging or being narcissistic. I'm only trying to open up the curtain for you guys to show you what's possible, how I did it, how you can do it, and how you can look at things more practically and reasonably and figure out where you can invest in some of your time and how to do so successfully. So again, this number don't mean fucking shit to me other than a number. The depth of me connecting with y'all is what matters, and this is why I make this video. And as long as that continues to be my center focus and the only thing I use as my fucking North Star, this number will continue to grow, and I have 100% faith and belief in that, because that has always been my thought and that has always been how I operated. And since I've documented the entire fucking process, y'all can't call bullshit on it, and we've grown and grown and grown. We will not stop growing until we take over the fucking world. Sorry, that was not necessary or called for. But I do want to sit down now and talk about money a little bit from a person to person, a personal standpoint. And all right, so I think it was good that I prefaced with that whole fucking 40-minute spiel, because as I said, man, I didn't come up with money. We were by no means the richest house in the neighborhood. We weren't poor, you know, we didn't really like struggle money-wise, but it definitely wasn't a non-factor to us, my family. I can give a perspective from not having it. I can give a perspective from having it now and what it's meant to me in both stages. And I think the single best piece of content I've ever put out was an article that I wrote this year. I think I put it out on New Year's Day. And if you follow me on Twitter, it's my pinned tweet. So you can go over to twitter.com/Nick_BDGE. And one day, I don't know why, I was just feeling it. I sat down and I wrote a really long article about the last 10 years, right? We were turning to a new decade. So I basically wrote, you know, the top 14 things that I've learned, the lessons I've learned over the previous decade. I believe the title was like Love, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Crappiness, an Ode to the Roaring 20s or some shit like that. So if you've read it, you know what I'm referring to. If you haven't, I thought it was the best piece of content I've ever put out, you know? And if you resonate with my content, then you'll probably like this article. And I don't think I'll put out something better or more impactful than that article until maybe another 10 years down the road when I can do my top 10 lessons learned from the previous decade, which hopefully the list won't be too long, because that means I've fucked up a lot of things, which I'm prepared to do so. I'm sure something about the coronavirus will be a bullet point for it. Point being, a lot of that had to do with my perspective of money and what it means. And I think Kanye West said it best, man. He said, having money's not everything, not having it is. What you learn quickly is this. It's like, I think if I went around and I interviewed 100 random people in New York City, or really anywhere, just the fucking human race, probably even more powerful in the United States, and I asked them what their biggest problem was right now in life, I'm gonna estimate that a huge percentage of them, maybe somewhere from like 90 to 98% of them, would have an answer that surfaces around money, right? It might be like I want a bigger apartment. I want a nicer car. I don't have enough money to buy my fiance a really nice engagement ring. I want more shoes and clothes, and I can't pay off my school loans and shit like that, okay? I think the large majority of people's problems, or the problems that they think they have, are financial related. What I'm here to tell you is that outside of like the 0.1% of people that are literally fucking homeless, which no one in my audience is homeless, obviously, so I'm talking to all of you guys, is unless you are homeless, I can promise you that all of those problems that you think you have financially are not financial problems. It goes way deeper than that. None of y'all have financial problems. All of y'all have insecurity problems, and that's not me judging, because I have a ton of insecurity problems as well, but it's just the fact. I spend a ton of money on clothes, I spend a ton of money on shoes, and I spend a ton of money on like technology. Those are the things that I like, right? You think all your problems are money problems. As soon as you get money, it doesn't solve your problems. It only opens up your real problems, because now you can't worry about money, right? You're not like, oh yeah, all of these problems I have are X, I need to pay for X, Y, Z, right? Now you get to the real internal problems within you, whether it's being insecure about your looks, or being insecure about how you look to other people, being insecure about not looking rich or not looking good for a girl, or not this or not that. That's what it uncovers, right? So it's a delicate space that not a lot of people talk about. And I understand money, especially that whole last clip I did, is fucking foreign to the world, right? Unless you're talking to your best friend or your fucking spouse or some shit, you don't normally see people post things like this. And again, not a brag, because I've been making these videos since I was not making any fucking money too. So what happens, you make money and you solve all those financial problems, and then you realize you need to look within you, because you don't ever get rid of problems. Everyone has fucking problems. Everyone's always gonna have problems. You will create problems if you don't have any, right? And what happens is when you get the money out of the way, then the only problems you can look to are those internal problems, right? You think that you can mask them by paying for things, but that is not the case. I'll get really open here for a second too, actually. So one of the internal problems that I have as a person, as someone who, works for themselves, by themselves all day, like loneliness is a very big problem for me, right? I get lonely often. And I don't mean lonely in like, oh, I need a girlfriend. Like, I don't care about that shit. But just from a personal level, man, like you guys go out, as much as you like hate your coworkers, man, if you didn't have them for 2 months, like you're going through Corona right now, I bet all of y'all would kill to be back in the office with your coworkers. Maybe unless you're like staying with your family. But if you're alone like me, like I'm doing this entire fucking pandemic by myself, you would kill to have some people around you. And for me, I learned really quickly that was my biggest problem when I stopped working at a real corporate office. I love working by myself. I'm a very independent person and thinker. Like I literally fucking talk into a camera for an hour with 0 problems or hiccups within it. But I realized as soon as I stopped being in an office environment, like I missed being around people. And that happened really fucking quickly, like 2 or 3 weeks into it. And I've been doing this for 3 fucking years. So you're goddamn right that shit takes a toll on me over that long of a span. And I almost think that, like, yes, the studio in itself is to create better content, and that will 100% be a side effect of it. But I'm almost at this point in my life, like, reverse engineering the fact that I need to fucking fix that problem, right? And what's scary is this, like, I keep saying that money's not the answer to it, and now I'm throwing money at it. But like, what happens if I have everyone here and we're all like creating fucking things and it's really fun and shit, but I still have that underlying feeling of loneliness? Like that's a very strong possibility that shit happens. And then I won't know where to turn from there. But the overall point of this is like, a lot of people want to pay for shit, want to buy things so that they can look better to other people outside. And the majority of the time, it's like 1 or 2 people in your head that you don't even give a shit about, and they don't give a shit about you, but you spend all this time and energy and money trying to impress them. And it will never be enough. Money will never solve these issues, man. It's not a money issue, it's a you issue. And again, I echo that this is not me like roasting people out there or trying to make them feel bad. This is just me being realistic and trying to get the message across you. Because whenever I try to convey a message, I try to do it so that it's personal and real, and it's the same way I would talk about anything. Fantasy football, I would say shit like this with the same tone. So I want to make sure that you guys are picking up what I'm putting down over here. It's a you issue. And when I say issue, it's a flaw, not an issue. It's not something you necessarily have to fix right now. But the overall point is look within yourself. When you start thinking about the problems that you have in life, understand that 99% of them are within you. They have a deeper cause to them, right? You're insecure about being lonely. You're insecure about not having a girlfriend to show off to your friends. You're insecure about not looking rich to your other rich coworkers. Those are all insecurity problems. Those are not money problems. So I'm here to tell you that it's okay to have those. Everybody has those, but it would serve you better to use your energy acknowledging those things and hopefully becoming comfortable enough with yourself that those can fade away, right? If you're comfortable enough with yourself, who you are as a person, if you're a good fucking person, then being rich to those other rich people shouldn't matter. And if it does, then that person's a shitty fucking asshole. Those are not the things that matter in life, yo. Like, if you're a good person and you just do the right things, Gary Vee always says it, doing the right thing is always doing the right thing. And that plays itself out over the long run. As money concerns me, it's never been a concern. I mean, you could ask my mom, you could ask Steve, my best friend, like, going back to when I started all this shit, it was never ever about the money, and it will never ever be about the money. I need the money to do things, to unlock things for me, but my motives, my actions will never be based on money alone. I do this shit because I'm passionate about it, and I really feel like I have a message to be brought to my audience, and I want to help people that were maybe as confused or still are as confused as I have been in the past, and I will continue to be into the future. So I like to document the process of not only my business and fantasy football, but the thoughts that are going on in my fucking head. Because I know a lot of people out there have similar thoughts, man. No matter if you're poor, no matter if you're rich, we all suffer from these insecurity issues. But I'm here to tell you that it's okay to have them. And I'm here to tell you that when you think about a problem that you have and you think it's money related, tell yourself immediately, it's not money related. What's the real issue I'm having here? What's the real underlying insecurity that is hitting me right now? Because every time, 100 out of 100 times, there will be some underlying shit within that you can try to work out. Just acknowledge that you're fucking human. None of us are perfect, and that's just the way real life works. So, you know, and it's crazy. I'm thinking back to like the first. If you watch the first fucking real vlog I ever put out, I don't think like any of my thoughts have changed, and that's how I know I've been doing this shit right. My chubby face, beardless face, patchy ass was coming out here, and I was saying the same shit that I still say nowadays, how I value my time, my flexibility, my creativity, and I left my job because I don't value money over those things. And everybody says they do, but they don't act on it. And if you're not acting on it, what is the point of you saying that you do? Because you clearly don't. So when I go back to my first vlog and watch it again, which I haven't done, I don't think, since I actually put it out, but I still remember the words that I said because I was actually a little bit nervous putting it out. But it was the same way I looked at it now, man. The money was never the thing. I do remember saying that, like, it would be a fucking dream come true if I can get back to the salary that I had prior to leaving and be able to wake up and do what I love every day. And clearly I've far surpassed that. And I was like, dude, I just want to do this so that I do have the flexibility within my life, like build a brand around my lifestyle so that I can enjoy everything else. And you know, your thoughts and your motives and your goals change as you progress as a person and as a business and as a brand. And now, you know, well, maybe not now anymore, but maybe a few months ago when I first wanted to make this video, I was at a crossroads with what I wanted to do. Because I could, you know, that's a lot of money we made last year. And I don't want to say be complacent because it's a conscious decision, right? I think being complacent is almost like being lazy, but I could have made a conscious decision like, dude, look what you said when you first started. You were like, if you hit this number, you're comfortable and you can live comfortably and live free and just enjoy life. And now I get to the point where I hit that, you know, those exact words, I real lifed it. And now I'm like, I don't want to just stay here and not continue to grow, you know? So it was a crossroads between being like, I could put out, I could stop innovating right now within my brand and stop trying to expand and make good money for the next 10 years and be set for the next 10 years, right? And that would be like cool. Like I could just, you know, walk around the next 10 years and be like, yep, I got a fantasy football podcast and it pays for my entire life. But I also like have that itch to say, don't you want to grow this fucking thing? Don't you want to see what you can make this into? Don't you want to see what can become of all of your thoughts? At the end of the day, like this entire brand is just a fucking mixture of my thoughts and feelings personified into content, you know? And when I make these decisions, when I come to crossroads in my life, and I've talked about this many times as well, I always think about regret. I always think about in 10 years, in 15, when I'm 40, when I'm 45, what will I have regretted not doing? And that pretty much clears up the problem for me immediately. Will I enjoy my life wholeheartedly if I stopped working so fucking hard and just continued to make? I mean, I could probably do the same thing I did year over year over year over year and make 6 figures for the next 10 years easy. But I'll regret the fuck out of that if I do not pursue this to the highest level that it can be when I'm 40 or 45. If I was 45 and I look back and said, you didn't invest back into your business, you didn't invest into people, you didn't grow it to see how big this fucking thing can get, I'd regret the fuck out of that. So it was an easy decision when I looked at it that way, and that is the way I operate on my life, man. We're in such a small window of, like, I don't mean to get so spiritual here, but we're in such a small window of life as we have it, and this coronavirus should be a fucking trigger to all those people, man. Like, we don't have a lot of time, so to waste it doing shit that you don't love, it just doesn't make sense. Like, you're scared about leaving the job that you have because your friends will judge you, right? You won't make as much money as them. You won't be able to drive a nice new car. You won't be able to XYZ. I can guarantee with 100% certainty, chasing a dream or a passion, or taking the job for a more realistic point of view, right? Not everybody can do this shit, but taking the job that makes you, out of college, taking a job that makes you $42,000 instead of $72,000, which when you're fucking 21 years old out of school looks like you feel like you're rich, and you kind of are in that sense because your expenses are so low. But the delta between the money and the reason I brought that up is, like, you're taking a $42,000 job that you absolutely love and you're going to be able to learn a lot from and take that forward with you, as opposed to a $72,000 job that you fucking hate. It's no question. It's the $42,000 job. And in a lot of my previous videos, I would say things like, I'm not really talking to everyone, and this is something that you should think about. I'm here to say on the record that is a fact. Do not take if you hate what you're going to be doing, but you're gonna make $30,000 less elsewhere, take the lower fucking paying job. The money, if you're passionate about something, the money will work itself out in the long run, I promise you. And the money, again, is not gonna solve your fucking problems anyways. It's the insecurities that you're worried about taking that lesser job. So acknowledge that, work through it, and you're gonna be fine. And that's not just for 21-year-olds. You know how many fucking older guys, 40, 45, 50, 55, that are watching this right now that are probably saying to themselves, like, yeah, I fucking hate my job. Figure out a way to change it, man. These are all conscious decisions. No one's gonna come to your front door and offer you a job that you love. But if you were, other people have more responsibilities, of course. And I was aware of this when I was coming up, right? Like, I wasn't spending money like an asshole, but, like, I also live with my mom, so I didn't have a lot of expenses. And I knew that. I worked that into my plan of when I can move out and when I can expand and invest in shit like this. So, like, if you're at home with a family and kids and shit, and you know something that you want to do, or you have a job that's gonna be like a 40K fucking pay cut, but you're gonna love the job, figure out the financials. If you need to cut spending, talk to your fucking wife and be like, listen, we can't do fucking lobster dinner every Friday night for the next year because I want to save a little bit of money for this, so that when I do leave and I start working on something I love, one, I'm gonna be way fucking better in bed. You're gonna love me. I'm gonna be more energetic. It's all worth that shit, right? 6 months, one year of saving in order to be financially okay for when you do make that jump. It's there, man. This is real fucking life. People have done this stuff. I'm fucking living proof of it. Not with the whole wife thing. I don't think I'll ever be married, to be honest with you. But, like, the general sense of shit. You see a lot of fluffy shit on Instagram and Twitter and people not really living out what they're talking about. But I can promise you this stuff is real fucking life. And if you make actionable plans behind a passion and something that you really want to do and something that you love, you'll never regret that. You will never regret choosing your fucking heart and your instinct over choosing money and something you think should be the right answer, right? So a lot of the times it's a battle between brain and heart. And if you follow your heart, you almost will never have regrets. Because even if it fucks it up, right? Even if you're like, fuck, I should have followed my brain, it would have made me the extra 20K. Like, you're not sitting there with that what if factor. You're not sitting there, all you'd be sitting there is with an extra 10K. What the fuck, you can't buy happiness with that. So what, are you gonna fucking forego happiness now so that in the future, you can make more money to try to buy happiness, which is not a fucking possible thing anyways. People got their fucking mentals all fucked up. It's why we have so much mental illness in this company right now. It's because of the shit that I'm saying. People make bad decisions. Man, I got this fucking, hold on one second. Don't take the money, man. Don't take the money. It's an ode to people choosing short-term wins over long-term wins, and people choosing money over happiness. Now, money does not necessarily mean this is not a literal sense of the word money. It's a figurative thing. It's a symbolic thing in a sense, right? It's probably the only fucking thing on me that has any sort of meaning. It's don't take the money. Like, don't take that $75,000 job if you're gonna hate your life. Don't do this dumb shit that you're not gonna be happy with, man. At the end of the day, life is fucking for living. Life is not for trying to get to the next day. It's not trying to get to the next week. What are you trying to get to? Like, there's no finish line in any of this shit. It's just enjoying the fucking process, man. It really is. And if you're not enjoying the process now, then that just means you're working towards some shit in which you think you're gonna be end up enjoying the process, which is not. There's no fucking light at the end of the tunnel. You're gonna have to grind for a long time before you see any success with it, but you'll enjoy that fucking process. Anytime you follow your heart, you won't regret it because you'll be doing something that you love. Like imagine just doing something you love. Like say you love playing basketball, but you have a goal to put on 15 pounds. Playing basketball is gonna help you lose weight because it's cardio, but you're not gonna be like upset about it. It's not something that you're gonna regret because you love doing it. It was fun to do. Meanwhile, if your friends call you to play basketball and you're like, no, sorry, I'm trying to gain weight, you know, I'm not gonna play with you guys. That's like a hard over brain thing, and you're gonna regret that. You're like, fuck, I wish I went and had fun and, you know, played with my friends and shit, right? So I'm just trying to make a very basic, I guess, comparison. I know that was fucking terrible, but it was off the top of my head. So just go do shit you love. Understand that money is not, just money ain't it. Money ain't it. I'm telling you that from the perspective of someone who hasn't had it, from someone who has had it. It doesn't change anything except for the fact that now you only can face your actual problems. At least you could have masked them prior to it because you come up with your own problems about why money is a real problem, but that shit is never it. So I challenge all y'all to change your perspective on not just money, but life itself, and understanding what the real goal is. There's no end goal. There's only goals throughout. There's only the process. There's only being fucking happy. There's only enjoying what you're doing and enjoying the people that you're doing it with. So I hope this can like not just inspire people, because I think inspiration through a video is cool, but it lasts like 40 minutes. But like, I hope someone out there takes this and uses it in a conscious decision. Like next time you're faced with a real conscious life decision, and maybe you think back to the shit and you're like, okay, this would be a better option, or I'd be more happy doing this. Like I hope someone out there takes something from this and uses it in a positive way in their life and actually makes it, you know, actionable. That being said, it's time to go to work. It's time to make some money. For real though. I say that only because what makes me money is what I love to fucking do. So I hope I can inspire people to look at life the same way. And I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I'm sorry it was so fucking long, but there was a lot to talk about, a lot to get off my chest. It's been a minute, so I love y'all. I guess hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed. And I'll see you on some of the fantasy videos this week, if not the next vlog, which will probably be my projections for, my Corona projections for 2020.